Hello. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel. Here we talk about great people whose stories inspire, make you think, and give you the strength to move forward. And today, one of the most powerful and legendary biographies of the 20th century. This is the story of a man who could have simply been a great boxer. But he chose a much more difficult path to become a symbol of an entire generation. A symbol of the struggle for freedom, truth, and dignity. Today we are talking about Muhammad Ali. The future champion was born Cassius Marcellus Clay on January 17, 1942, in Louisville, Kentucky. He grew up in an America divided by racism and segregation. In his hometown, there were restaurants that served only whites, schools only blacks, and a police force that rarely sided with people like him. The first impetus to boxing was unexpected. When 12-year-old Cassius' bicycle was stolen, he went to the police station and said that he wanted to catch and beat up the thief. One of the officers, Joe Martin, who was also a boxing trainer, suggested that he learn how to fight for real. From that moment on, everything changed. Cassius turned out to be a natural fighter. Already in junior tournaments, he stood out for his extraordinary speed, charisma, and confidence. At 18, he went to the Olympics in Rome, where he won a gold medal in the light heavyweight division. Returning to the United States as a hero, he hoped for recognition. But the reality was cruel. Despite the medal, he remained just a colored guy for many Americans. Legend has it that after he was not allowed into a restaurant, he threw his gold medal into the river in disgust. This gesture became a symbol of disappointment in his homeland, which does not appreciate its own heroes. Since 1960, Clay began his professional career. Even then, he was bold, bright, even defiant. He shouted that he would become a world champion when he had not even had time to have 10 fights. He wrote poetry before the fights, smashed his opponents not only with his fists, but also with words. His motto was simple: float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. In 1964, at the age of only 22, he goes up against Sonny Liston, an absolute favorite, whom even the judges were afraid of. But Clay wins. It was a shock. Just a few days later, he announces that he is changing his name. Now he is Muhammad Ali, having converted to Islam and rejecting the name of slaves. 3 years after winning the title, Ali receives a summons. He is called up for the war in Vietnam. But he refuses. His words become legendary. "I'm not going to travel 10,000 miles to kill poor people when blacks in Louisville can't even buy a decent meal." This act cost him almost everything. He was stripped of his belt, banned from competing, went to court and received a sentence of 5 years in prison. He did not go to prison, but he could not box for almost 4 years. These were the best years of his career. But he did not give up. He remained true to himself, even under the threat of prison, poverty, and public condemnation. In 1970, Ali returns to the ring. He is not as fast as before, but still incredibly smart and strong. He is waiting for a fight with Joe Frazier, and he loses. This was the first defeat in his life. But he comes back again. In 1974, he holds one of the greatest fights in history, the Rumble in the Jungle, against George Foreman. Everyone bets on the young Foreman, but Ali withstands the onslaught, plays on endurance, and knocks out the champion in the 8th round. He regains his title. In the eyes of the whole world, this was a moment of triumph of intelligence, will, and strategy. He continued to perform, although his health no longer allowed it. His fights with Ken Norton, Joe Frazier, including the famous Thriller in Manila, and, finally, his heavy defeat to Larry Holmes in 1980. All this became the farewell of the great fighter. In 1984, it became known that he had Parkinson's disease. Many believed that the cause was constant blows to the head. But even the disease did not break his spirit. After boxing, he became a humanitarian activist. Ali traveled the world, met with children, participated in charity events, helped the poor and sick, and also actively advocated for human rights. when in 1996, he lit the Olympic flame at the opening ceremony in Atlanta. It was a moment of global recognition. Even those who once condemned him now stood up and applauded. Muhammad Ali died in 2016. Hundreds of thousands of people around the world saw him off. He was called not only the greatest boxer, but also the man who changed the course of history. He challenged America, racism, war, and even himself. He said, "A champion is not someone who never falls. A champion is someone who gets up after every fall." And perhaps no one proved it more than he did.